So something I've been thinking about for ages is how people don't really understand racism anymore because, you know, they will say as a defense, you know, I'm not racist because I have a black friend, I know black people. Donald Trump can't be racist because his friends are Mike Tyson and Tiger Woods. He appointed Ben Carson to his government. Joe Biden can't be racist because he was the vice president to Barack Obama. And it's like in people's mind, if you're not in the KKK or if you're not like an active segregationist, you can't be racist for some reason. If you're not like a politically active racist, you aren't a racist. And it's so infuriating seeing people defend all these people and all their policies and try and say how, you know, they don't have a racist bone in their body, how could they? But then we get into like their racist beliefs on people, their racist policies they've pushed as politicians, and you really get a picture of racist people because anti-racist people would not be okay with being like this. So to start with, I'm not racist, I have a black friend argument, right? A lot of the time what happens is that racists will have friends who are non-white, for example, but what their logic is that that particular person or that particular group of people they might be friends with is like them. You're not like the others, you're like me, so you're okay, because your culture or your race of people, they have, you know, certain things wrong with them that I believe. There's many stereotypes about them that I believe. But you guys, you're okay because you're friends with me and you're like me and I realise you're like me. And it's quite infuriating because the logic could be, oh, they're just like me, I shouldn't be racist. But it's more like, only you guys are like me and the rest of you, by and large, aren't like me and you are lesser than me. That's the logic. And that's the logic I believe people like Donald Trump use. Obviously, because, you know, they like people like Tiger Woods, they like people like Mike Tyson. But, you know, Trump dog whistles, you know, inner cities, he talks about all the time, all this racist stuff, Central Park 5, birtherism. He is, you know, totally racist, but, you know, he's friends with some black people. So in his mind, he might think he's not racist. And a lot of idiots think he's not racist too because he has some non-white friends. But obviously the logic is they are like me and you're not like the others. And obviously in someone like Trump's case, wealth has a lot to do with it because he is friends with the wealthy non-white people and he likes them. So that is just one part of debunking, you know, this defense people use against their favorites being racist. Here's another one, right? So when I discuss Tommy Robinson, people come at me and say, Tommy Robinson isn't a racist, he has Sikh friends, he has ex-Muslim friends, he has these types of friends. Again, that plays into the argument I just used, but when you have someone like Tommy Robinson who has an agenda against a specific group, namely Muslims, then he is obviously seeking allies who also hate Muslims, and that is the sort of people he you know, concerns himself with. Saying that Tommy Robinson has Indian Hindu friends doesn't necessarily mean he's not a racist, because as we know, India and Pakistan really don't get on. The current government of India is right-wing Hindu nationalist, essentially fascist ideology in a lot of ways. Them being friends with Tommy Robinson to hate Muslims doesn't mean that Tommy Robinson is a non-racist. And even if Tommy Robinson doesn't believe everyone who's non-white is lesser than him, he believes one group of people are, and I've talked about cultural racism and everything like that, he's still a racist. Even if you just believe one group are lesser than you, you're still a racist. So if you're a guy who doesn't mind Asians, you know, South Asians, and you know, other ethnic groups, but you hate black people, that doesn't mean you're not a racist, it just means you're more selective. So that is not a good argument either, and I don't know why people are so ridiculous they think it holds up. So we're going to get into a more complex one, and that's people like Joe Biden, people I believe who are racist, but not in the traditional way. So for example, Joe Biden was obviously the vice president to Barack Obama. He could of course view Obama like the way I've been talking about Donald Trump viewing his black friends and stuff. You know, he could say, you're like me, you're like one of us, but I think lesser of black people in general. But Joe Biden seems to think that he's not a racist, and he seems to think, you know, how could anyone ever call me racist? How could anyone ever say that? I've been a champion for black people all my life, you know, for the working class. I had friends back when I was senator who were black. But let's say Biden does not believe at all that white people are superior to any race, right? He's not the standard definition of a racist. The policies he's pushed in his life and the people he's been friends with would be so abhorrent to an anti-racist that it just would not happen. So he's been friends with so many segregationists like Strom Thurmond. These people were some of the most racist politicians in America over the last 50 years. He was friends with them. He said a eulogy for Strom Thurmond. he said a eulogy for him. One of the most racist politicians, like I'm saying. If you are not okay with racism, you are not going to that guy's funeral. You are not saying a nice speech about him. You are not talking about how great he is. You are not being friends with him to get stuff passed in the Senate. You're just not doing that. Only a racist is allying themselves with segregationists. And you can see Biden fighting against busing is another part. You know, he's essentially fighting against integration. And he claims not to be a racist, and he gets offended when people bring it up. If you're fighting against integration, you're probably a racist. And if you're fighting against integration with a load of white supremacist segregationists, then you probably are a racist. And then you get into other things like the war on drugs in the 80s. He allied again with the segregationists to push numerous bills about being tough on crime, criminalising drugs even more, and he knew that it would hurt black communities and minority communities more than white people. He knew it would make the system even more racist, but he did it anyway. And then you have the 1994 crime bill, which he personally oversaw. He personally wrote a lot of it, which criminalised drugs even more, and as a result, the prison population tripled. So essentially, Joe Biden and people like Bill Clinton both knew the criminal justice system in America was already racist, and even knowing that, they chose to make it more racist. So for example, you got way harsher punishments for having crack cocaine, which was more found in lower class places and poorer places, whereas something like powder cocaine, you didn't get, you know, as harsh a sentence. And then all this stuff about marijuana, which, you know, although white people and black people smoke marijuana at a similar rate, it heavily affected black communities, devastated black communities. And it had that 3 strikes and you're out policy. If you're charged with marijuana offences 3 times, you go to prison for life. And it heavily affected black and non-white communities more than white communities, because the system was already racist, and you're just giving racist opportunities to use this new law to put more black people in prisons. And then you had the whole stuff about private prisons and corporate interests in politics, making this stuff even worse. But to simply say Joe Biden isn't a racist because he was the vice president of Barack Obama, I'd say it's a massive oversight on Obama to make someone like this his vice president. Anyone who fights against integration, anyone who pushes racist policies and is okay with segregationist politicians to the point that he will go to their funeral and eulogize them, is a racist in my opinion, even if he doesn't necessarily think that some races are superior to others. So anyway, let me know what you think about this video. If you liked it, leave a like, maybe subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on social media, follow me at The Tabernacle on both Twitter and Instagram. I also have a WordPress blog, which is just The Tabernacle WordPress. Thank you to all my patrons on Patreon, and if you want to have a look at that, just check it out in the description. I'm super grateful for all the support you guys are giving me, and hopefully in the future I'll be able to build a better setup for these videos. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching.